Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There Loki Live, a weekly video stream and podcast that has been focused on Marvel's Loki series, which is available to watch in its entirety on Disney+. In today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation, not only around the season finale, which is episode 6 for all time, always, but also the entirety of the Loki show, as well as parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or maybe I should now call it the Marvel Cinematic and Streaming Multiverse would probably be more appropriate. So if it's your first time here, welcome. Please do, if you've got any comments, get involved in the live stream, put your comments in the section, and I will do my best to balance everything and get to your comments before we reach the end of time, literally. So my name is Keith Isles. I am an independent filmmaker and lifelong enthusiast of cinema and television and all that good stuff. And for this discussion, I am joined by a panel from across the multiverse. So these people are from all different areas of the multiverse, and God only knows what they think about Loki and where we are with this series. So I'm looking forward to speaking to all of these. First up, from the Premiere Scene website and host of Red Carpet Events and documentarian and filmmaker. Welcome to the show, Claire Bueno.
Good evening. Hey. How are you, Keith?
Very well. So you've decided to come back and see the whole thing out, yeah?
Oh, I did. I've been here for the whole shebang, haven't I? The whole 6 weeks. You lucky thing. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure I've contributed anything of, I don't know, much. I haven't got much knowledge of the whole kind of universe. But anyway, it's been really lovely being a part of the podcast. So thanks for having me on.
Well, you've always been welcome. Obviously, we had your brother Anthony on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stream that we did. And I know you wanted to come on. And I know you're a fan of Tom Hiddleston and the Loki character. And I actually think you've contributed loads, because I think it's when we do these live streams and these video streams out there and podcasts, we sort of take for granted that the audience listening, for the most part are probably into this stuff and maybe know the source material, but not necessarily. A lot of this, the idea of these shows is to reach a wider audience and reach a new audience. So I think having a point of view from someone that's not necessarily an aficionado of all things MCU or comic books is actually a really good balance to the show. So you've been very welcome, and I've been really happy to have you on this.
No, thank you for having me.
So no problem. You're welcome. Also on the stream, back by popular demand, he wasn't here last week because he was off filming some top secret project, trying to get that golden hour shot at sunset. But he is always full of opinions. He is a filmmaker in his own right, well known for the web series Rebecca Gold. If you haven't checked that out yet, check out Rebecca Gold web series. There's some really good actors in that one, I might point out. But he is the mega geek himself, Ian David Diaz.
Wow, what an introduction.
Welcome back. Well, I thought it's the finale, let's big everyone up and
why not
feel welcome and let everybody, say what they do. Let's put it out there. You never know what it might bring back. Sure. Claire's got all of her work. You've got all of yours. And don't worry, by the end of the podcast, we'll give you the opportunity to say where people can find it. And I'll put all this information in the show notes to boot. So there you go. Right, next up, joining us from across the pond, he has been my co-host on the Let's See What's Out There, or LSWOT podcast, but I'm not sure this is actually him or whether it's a variant of him. Welcome, Pete Mealy. Oh, look,
Variant.
he is the variant Pete Mealy.
Sorry to disappoint. Yeah.
From another timeline.
Yeah, I'm from the timeline where this show is good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't give the game away yet, Pete. I'm holding it in. Not just yet. Not just yet. But what we really need as well is there's somebody out there that is right now, I can see, making notes, plotting for world domination. But I believe that this man might have quite a lot to say about this. He is a comic book fan himself, and I know so far has been really enjoying this Loki series. So we'll see what he thinks now he's got to the finale. Welcome to the show, filmmaker Clive Ashenden. Hey, Clive.
Hello.
How are you this week?
I'm very good, thanks, Keith. Great to be back for the finale. Let's finish this baby off.
Back for the finale, absolutely.
Always in one.
Absolutely. Let's finish it. And I feel that, no team is complete without the captain. Okay. And I know somebody here, they're not only from a different multiverse, they're actually from a completely different franchise. Sat on the bridge of the USS Welshman, we have screenwriter and Star Trek fan Graham Williams, also known as Graham the Conqueror.
Hey,
Graham the Conqueror. I missed a trick there.
It's Graham the Conqueror.
Graham the Conqueror.
Good to be back again.
You're in command, Graham. Literally, you're wearing the command colours.
Oh, what do I do?
Sorry, it's the USS Casablanca. I got it wrong.
Yes, it is. It's White House.
The USS Casablanca. So, welcome back. I know you had fun last week, so I know you wanted to come back this week and have your say. Now, is there going to be a drinking game this week, Graham?
No, I do have my very clean-ish water. No booze this week. Listen, we had fun with Richard E. Grant last week, didn't we, guys?
Well, we did.
What you did off the air is entirely between you, Graham. I have no idea what you and Richard E. Grant did, but woohoo.
Yeah. Oh no.
But yes, we did have fun with the drinking game. So already in the comments, I can see that Garbage is out there saying hello. Thank you, Garbage, for your comments both last week and so far. What have we got here? I only know Loki from Infinity War and Endgame, so I know very little. Yeah, well,
Well, join the club.
yeah.
I can see some other people are watching as well. If indeed you've got any comments or anything at any point, please put them in and I will try and get to them. But in the meantime, we, as always, have a lot to talk about here. It was a fairly packed episode, and in our usual fashion, we usually start with a very brief synopsis so that I can understand what's going on. So, Pete, take it away.
Okay. Loki and Sylvie meet up with the guy behind the curtain, and it's just a guy. He's a scientist who figured out the multiverses, met with himself, then started the multiverse war because he's kind of a jerk. But he did fix the multiverse war and knows everything that has happened and will happen until right now. And now Loki and Sylvie have a choice: take over the TVA so that the guy can rest, or kill the guy and then time starts over again, like it does. Loki says no to both, tries to convince Sylvie, but Sylvie drops Loki through a time door into the TVA, kills the guy, and then everything goes to hell quickly. Loki finds Mobius because they have to get everything back under control, but Mobius doesn't know who Loki is. And credits.
Dun, dun, dun. Yes, thank you for that, Pete. I now know what's going on. So I really
Me too.
appreciate.
Me too.
I really appreciate that. Very concise and decent as always. So just we always do this, and this is the final week for doing this. So this episode was obviously directed by Kate Herron, and this particular one written by showrunner Michael Waldron. But just wanted to point out some of the crew that we've got here. We've been sort of touching on some of the heads of department and some of the creatives, the above the lines, as they call it in the industry. So we've got here costume designer Christina Wadda. I think, costumes have been quite impressive in this, whether they've been, new costumes or whether they've been sort of mimicking things from the comics or what we've seen before. Christine's previous credits include the likes of The Unborn, The Terminal, working with Spielberg, Pixels, and Bridesmaids. So some good work here. And then on the editorial side, because as we all know, these stories are very much shaped in the edit, and the editor for this is Emma McCleavey. Emma has pretty much worked on short films as editor. She did work on the TV series Housemates, but has been involved in the editorial department for some fairly big films, including Spectre, so she's worked on a Bond movie, and Fury, that film with Brad Pitt, if you remember that. And she is indeed one of the editors of this show. So I wanted to point out crew members there and salute their work, across this stuff. We all know filmmaking is a collaboration. It is quite a tricky job, and regardless of what we think of Loki in terms of story and character and things of that nature, I think we've all agreed across the board here that the production qualities of the show look extremely good. It's got we've talked about the production design, we've talked about the director of photography, the composer, and the various. We've talked about the director and the writers. So in terms of the look of the show, that with the visual effects, very good. But let's just have a look about some of these comments here. So I want to make sure I get to them. So Garbage has said, shame it didn't start with Loki talking to Loki, asking about Loki, seeing Loki and saying, let's go speak to Loki. Yeah, pretty much. Lots of Loki going on here. So, all right. Well, I'll throw it open. Who wants to sort of start with their general thoughts on this before we start digging into specifics of this episode?
I think I've already let the cat out of the bag about my opinion, so I'll jump in.
Go ahead, Pete.
and I will say that when I finish this episode, all I could think about these 6 episodes of Loki is that these could have been a really great 2 episodes of Loki. There was about enough story in there for 2 episodes, and if they just cut it down and then started. Because I was excited about the idea of Loki lost in the multiverse. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that'd be fun. I'd love to see them play in that sandbox. And I think we've seen, a couple of things throughout this season where we've said, hey, that would be fun if we saw more of that. But they didn't give us the fun stuff. They gave us the boring stuff. And so if we, focused in on the better stuff, this could have been a great series. But as it is, I think they paid too much attention to trying to get to a certain point to fit the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe goal. Yep. And that really hurt this show.
Yep. I think that's fair comment. Anybody got any sort of counters to that?
No counter for me. Agreed, although 2 episodes may have felt a bit rushed, but that's me being splitting hairs there, Pete. But yeah, my wife said it brilliantly earlier. My daughter, who's 10, so this is a 12 plus. We were like, no, we won't let you watch this one on Disney Plus. And my wife literally said, when my daughter asked why, he said, well, there's a lot of talking in it. And my daughter went, okay. And then she's off it now. She doesn't want to watch Loki. So I thought, in a nutshell, there's a lot of talking in it. And Pete, yeah, they did give us, the longer version. They gave us the novel, didn't they? Really, with all the thoughts, without the shebang. Or, as you know, with pitching ideas, they gave us the steak that was cooked last Saturday and just been left there. They really didn't sell us the sizzle on this one. However, yeah, the creatives were awesome. Absolutely loved the music. A stuck record there, pun intended. I absolutely loved it. Loved the look and feel of it. But unfortunately, yeah, too long, guys, too long.
Claire?
Yeah, I think for me, this particular episode seemed to pay a lot of attention to setting up the next series rather than really giving us a satisfactory ending. I don't know. I mean, my brother and I had spoken about it, and he said, "Oh, do you know what? We're in Asgard. Maybe it's Odin. That's this person that's controlling everything." And I was like, "Oh, that's actually a great idea. And maybe, is Odin making Loki go on this kind of journey of kind of growing up, like how he sent Thor to Earth to man up and mature and find himself. Maybe this is Odin doing that with Loki." And I don't know. I mean, I'm because I don't know all the villains in the MCU. Perhaps this villain, this person, is bigger within within the whole comic universe that I don't know. So he is he? So
God knows.
So yeah. I would imagine then for fans of the comic realm, then maybe this character is the perfect person to set it up. For me, who doesn't know the backstory and the history of Marvel, for me it was like, who's this person just turned up? So for me, I felt a little bit robbed, I think would be how I would put it.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think that's very very true about the the expecting to understand,
because I think as well the thing is as well that they've introduced this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe to audiences that don't know the history and the whole I don't know what you want to call it. So they've introduced all the other characters really well throughout the making of all the films and whatever. So I don't know. I just felt, like even with WandaVision, the neighbor that crops up to be the villain, and I know they can't do that, but you knew who she was. It wasn't just somebody that was kind of thrown in, where I don't know. I you guys, you're the experts in this, and I'm not. For me, as somebody that doesn't know the whole kind of mythology, I suppose, and I don't think you can exclude us that have been watching it who don't know the mythology. So I don't know. There should have been something, maybe there has been something throughout the series that's given us a breadcrumb that I wouldn't know and I missed on. Maybe you guys can fill me in.
Okay. Clive, on that note, any thoughts on this?
Oh, yeah, many thoughts. So with WandaVision, there was all this sort of tease of like a big bad behind it, right? And there's lots of speculation online that it was going to tie into comics, and it was going to be Mephisto, who's like the Marvel equivalent of the devil, like a big bad. And it didn't end up happening. And so some people who got carried away with speculation were sad because of that, and felt underwhelmed by the ending of it. This time they have a big bad tease, and they actually produce a version of a big bad, right? Kang the Conqueror, or in this case, Kang the Expositioner. This He Who Remains version of this character. So for me, I was watching it. I was like, oh, they've just stolen from Doctor Who again. They've been doing it all throughout this series. I was right, in the modern Doctor Who series, there was a character called Clara Oswald who was one of the Doctor's assistants, and we didn't get to meet her before we'd met alternate versions of her, like split through time. So, and they're almost doing that. So it's like we have to take him at his word when he's like, "Oh, you have to really be scared of the other versions of me. They're much worse, right?" Because it was an amusing performance, but it's not going to sort of have you quaking in your boots, is it? But unless you know the comics, unless you know Kang the Conqueror, Immortus, so you're familiar with the idea that not only is he like a big bad in the Avengers world, for Fantastic Four, but also that there's these different versions of him as well. So, yeah, and so I thought in one way it was refreshing not to have like a big CGI slugfest end the series where suddenly all the big, like they splurge all their money on the last episode, because they basically did that last episode, right? It was all action. It was all action last week, all exposition this week. It's like, please take a seat while I explain to you what's been going on for the entire series. So for me, my takeaway was that you have this thing which potentially has big MCU consequences, but it completely fails on the emotional stakes. It fails, it fails the characters, because it's much more interested in, we're sort of breaking open the Pandora's box, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're breaking open Pandora's box. We're letting out the multiverse, and we're doing it in this show first, which is, to be fair, given what we've seen in the previous, Marvel shows where it's sort of like you could have skipped them and you wouldn't really have missed much. This one, you could at least say, I guess, that something happens in it, that, if you see what I mean, in that way. But yeah, did it feel a satisfactory end? Not especially, no. And I've enjoyed the series. I found it fun, but it's that's for me. It failed emotionally.
Okay, yeah, and of course we're talking about as there on the screen, Jonathan Majors, actor Jonathan Majors, who is credited as being called He Who Remains in this episode, and of course there's the statue that we see at the end, but in the middle there, that is this Kang the Conqueror character. Is that right? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
who he does say that he's been referred to as a conqueror at one point, doesn't he? But that's sort of the closest reference.
It's like they've been teasing this big bad, and then they reveal him, and it's just a tease for the real big bad who we're going to get in potentially in Ant-Man Quantumania or further down the road.
Right. Yeah, well, Garbage has said with the last 3 Marvel shows, the fans have had better theories to what actually happened, and we'll talk more about that later. But Ian, I'm very curious as to your thoughts on this.
Well, on the show, or just
we didn't speak last week, so
on the show, or just this episode?
Well, both. But start with this episode if you want.
This episode was trash. What can I say? It's absolute trash. The whole series is absolute trash. It's pointless and uninteresting as far as I'm concerned. I don't really have much to say about it because I am actually quite upset at what Marvel's doing to our characters. This is not called the Loki show. This is called the Sylvie show. That's what it's called. Obviously, Loki's a co-star in his own TV show, which is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. The agenda's playing full in this one, more so than the other two. What can I say? It's absolute trash. What can I say? There's not much more I can say really about
have you got to the point where, like, you know, the sort of mid-credit tease, if you like, is just to say, well, Loki will return in a second season, so we know we're getting a second season. I mean, are you at that point where you don't know whether you're going to bother?
I don't care. I'm not going to watch second season. As I said, you know, Marvel is now the MCU, and they're going down that route, and there's no one's going to stop them. They're just going to carry on doing that, and that's all there is to it, really. I mean, as I said, a lot of people disagree. Obviously, you have two factions, one that agree with that and others that don't agree. That's fine with me, but I can see what's going on, and I can see it as plain as day. So every week, Loki gets smacked. every week he gets to be made a fool. None of, as I said before, none of the males are strong enough. Especially when Owen was gonna, you know, had the stick, and then, you know, what's her name, easily defeats him, and he's on the ground. All that stuff I just despise. I as I said before, and I think in the first stream, I like it when it's balanced between men and women. They both have an equal ground, you know, but it's not. It's definitely bending. And another thing I've noticed as well, how this generation and this generation of filmmakers, or this cult that's taken over Hollywood and the BBC, I've noticed that they don't treat black males very well. They really don't. I mean, this guy at the ending, he's a bit of an idiot, you know, and he's the villain, right? I mean, even in Doctor Who, remember that any person of color they have, a male, they always end up dying or getting killed or being stupid or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. You know, there is a pattern to all this stuff that if you look closely, this is what they're doing. Especially with Black Widow, when I went to see Black Widow recently. And I can tell you one thing, the only thing I enjoyed about Black Widow was my popcorn. That's all I enjoyed of that show. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, what else can I say? You know.
These days. Sorry, Ian, do you get free popcorn? Do you get really good popcorn? With
sweet popcorn, medium size.
Where'd you go? I want to go.
Well, it's Cineworld. I went Cineworld. Cineworld. Okay. I got Cineworld card, so right, you know.
Going after this then, free good.
Yeah.
We might, if we get time at the end, we might talk a little bit about Black Widow towards the end of this, because I've got some thoughts on that. I have to firstly, Ian, on one thing you said there about the because I find this quite interesting. You said about the men of color not being treated particularly well in this.
Well, not only in this.
I was going to say, isn't that kind of anti-woke though?
Yeah, it is. It is. But people who make this stuff, they don't realize they're the racists. You know what I mean? By you know, slamming on white men. White men are usually evil now, or stupid. Do you know what I mean? And Loki's definitely stupid in his own show. Definitely gets battered in his own show. Definitely made to be the fool in his own show. Every episode, he's a fool. Even that episode last week where there were loads of Lokis, you know? Who had all the answers? Sylvie. Who knew what to do? Sylvie. Who's following around like a sick dog? Loki. Do you know what I mean? So, and even
Sylvie is, sorry to interrupt, Sylvie is a Loki though, Ian. That's
not the point. We're talking about Tim Hiddleston. Hiddleston is the star, not her. And he is made to be a co-star in his own show. That's the way I see it anyway. And I know Pete disagrees and I know everybody else disagrees, but that's the way I see it. And, you know,
I have to say my thoughts on this show, or certainly this episode, was it's one of those things. I want to like it, but I found it terminally dull. I was absolutely bored out of my mind, and I thought, is something going to happen? And usually, you know, I'm quite a stickler for wanting to understand everything and every little detail and all the continuity and all of that sort of thing. And I've actually got to a point with it where I don't care, and that upsets me, because, you know, I've been a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's weird. This is almost done. If you look at the two Disney properties, the big, you know, genre fanboy property, or fan, I shouldn't say fanboy, that's probably the wrong term now, but those types
Fan
of shows.
person, you mean?
Fan person genre shows.
Fan non-gender specific.
There you go. There you go.
Fan fluid. Let's say fan fluid.
Oh, there we go.
I've kind of done a flip with it, because what I found was with the MCU films culminating with Endgame, I was really invested, and I was excited and moved and entertained by that. Whereas with the, Star Wars films, I was, frankly felt very, very let down and thought that it was, really badly written and executed and just didn't work. Yeah. And kind of felt like some sort of made up as it went along adventure game. Whereas with The Mandalorian, which we've covered, on the podcast, with that one, especially when it came to the series finale of season 2, I was excited and moved and entertained and had that great feeling that I like as a geek, as a fan and as a filmmaker, love that stuff. Whereas with the Marvel shows, I'm kind of the other way now. I'm kind of sort of not bothered, and I find that sad.
With Mandalorian, there's a perfect balance between the males and the females in there. You got ass-kicking females, which is terrific, and you got ass-kicking males as well. And the Mandalorian, he's really stupid, let's face it, the amount of trouble he gets into just by being dumb. But the thing is, though, it works. It really works, and it's entertaining. Special effects is really good in a TV show, probably the best I've seen in a TV show, period. Do you know what I mean? It's really entertaining. And Marvel, as I said, they're going down this road, and good luck to them. But I can't invest any more time on Marvel stuff anymore if this is what they're going to do. And it looks like this is what they're going to do. So good luck to them. That's all I can say.
It's that next month we've got What If coming up, and the comics of those. They're excellent as well.
Yes,
I'm very much looking forward to What If. But what my thoughts were when I was gearing up for this show tonight was, wait a minute, we've had these trailers, and it seems as if from Pete's hope for Loki, at least, it would be episodic. I know Ian's talking about episodic would have been better for
it would, yeah.
Winter Soldier. So it's back to hope. My hope is that What If will be the episodic like it is. The issues deal with one closed off story, but there now is that risk that they may, again, some guys out there maybe want to comment or know better, know more already from what's been released, as it were. But I'm hoping that then will be episode. We can get back to some decent writing that is, because it's time limited. I talked last week about the movies; they were time limited, whereas these series have been 8, 6, and 6. WandaVision, Falcon, and Loki, and but they stretched it too far. So I'm hoping the What If will be limited and therefore episodic, and therefore be that entertaining. The trailers make the visuals look amazing anyway, so that's my hope there. So unlike you, Ian, I'm still invested because there's a hope there, but we will see it with episode 1 of the What If series after all. But I do share your frustration, and to be honest with you, knowing Keith as I do, it's absolute. I'm so surprised that you genuinely are disenfranchised by.
Yes. Well,
it's such a for you are one of the most enthusiastic film cinephiles I know. You watch something that I would actually shout and scream in at a cinema and stomp and walk out, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's brilliant! It was great, fantastic!" And you've done this, and that's just disappointing to hear. Because you are.
Well, especially when you think that this whole live stream it was born out of the MCU shows, because we started it with WandaVision because I was so surprised, pleasantly surprised by that opening episode. That's when I said to Pete, we were doing podcasts on Star Trek and Star Wars, and I said, look, why don't we why don't we open this out and do it as a live stream or a video stream on WandaVision? And of course, that's then led to Falcon and Winter Soldier, which has led to this. But it is getting a bit disappointing. I want to. Sorry, Garbage has put quite a bit of information down here, so let's just see what he's saying. So this is where I totally agree with the Mega Geek. It upsets me with what they are doing and how they are rewriting all these characters as poor caricatures of real superhero we all know and love. And there's more. Everything else coming up from Marvel, I am sure, is going to be the same. Movies and TV shows. They even have that Bisha K. Ali writer doing Ms. Marvel film. That is going to be atrocious. So, well, I mean, yeah. I
mean, there are traits, as you can see what's happening. There are traits, you know. I mean, like who's the girl in WandaVision, the black girl? What's her name again? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Her. She says to Wanda, she praises her at the ending, doesn't she? You remember that scene? She was going, "You're wonderful," and blah blah blah. But this woman, right? She basically tortured those people. She had kids locked in rooms and stuff like that. This is a pattern that's going through their films. Women cannot be subjugated to what they've actually done. Some horrific things. Don't even talk about Black Widow and what's her name? Rachel Rice's character. What she did, and yet towards the end of the film, she's like the whole film treats her like a heroine. She's done some horrific things, and this is the trait that's going through these shows. I mean, if you don't see that, then there's nothing I can say. There's nothing more I can say. I can see these things. It's from Star Wars to Star Trek to the MCU now is going down that road. All this stuff is happening. And as I said, I just hope it stops with What If. As Graham says, well, I want to see What If, and hopefully What If will be good. But I don't know. I think I'll stop here. You know,
I think What If might be quite a nice opportunity. Because my understanding of that is that's going to go through what we've had as the established Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, you know, so the Infinity Saga, but scenarios where, you know, what if the Avengers team was different, for example, and stuff like that. And that could be quite fun.
But we found out recently, there was an article that just popped up that in Black Widow, Tony Stark was meant to be in it, but they took him out because they said that we can't have a man helping the female characters in it. And in WandaVision, we found out that Doctor Strange was meant to be the ending of WandaVision, and they took him out because they said the same thing. We can't have a man helping a female in a female show. So this is where it's going, right? This is where it's going. So, you know, and these things, I didn't write it. I just read them, you know. So what can I say? What can I say? You know? It's sad.
I mean, there is definitely... Sorry, Claire.
No, Keith. I was just going to ask. You know, normally these shows have all had a making of. Has there come out? Has there been one for Loki?
It's not out yet, but I believe there is going to be one next week. And this is for any listeners that don't know what we're talking about. There on Disney Plus, if you subscribe, there's a what they call Marvel Assembled. And it's essentially a making of. They've had one for WandaVision, they've had one for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I believe next Wednesday there's going to be one for Loki, which they are quite fascinating because they're a little bit like they've done with the Mandalorian and the Gallery, where you have the sort of behind the scenes, you have a round table and then sort of behind the scenes footage. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, you know, even though this show hasn't wowed me, I am looking forward to watching the making of, and I always kind of appreciate those things. But so just looking at, I mean, it seems, and Clive touched very much on this, it seems that what they've done with Loki is they do seem to be establishing their kind of, whereas we've talked about WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier not necessarily making any difference to the, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we'd had up until that point. Loki really does seem to be building that bridge and that springboard into the next phase of the movies. So we've got, we're dealing with this idea of the multiverse, with the new Spider-Man film, where there's talk that they may have some of the actors that have previously played Peter Parker and Spider-Man potentially appearing in that film. Obviously, Doctor Strange, the clue is in the title there with the multiverse of madness, and we know that Wanda's going to be involved in that. And then, of course, you've got Ant-Man, which Clive mentioned, Quantum Mania, and they also seem to be potentially setting up the Young Avengers with some of the younger characters that they've introduced in these shows. Any thoughts on any of these properties, or how you feel about those? I mean, are we excited about this next phase of movies?
No.
I think I know Ian's answer. Yeah.
Well, you know what's going to happen in a multi-universe with Doctor Strange? What's her name? Wanda's going to be more powerful than Doctor Strange. You know it's coming. All of you know it's coming. So there you go.
For me, is if they give free sweet
yes
gone,
yes.
That's going to entice me to watch the movies. Yeah, defo. I know I have sweet popcorn for free at home here. I'd have to get it from the supermarket and get on Disney Plus. So I'm not quite sure there. But listen, guys, they're rebuilding again. We haven't been so enamored. We were all, or most of us at least, with WandaVision. There's been a 1.5 duds. I'm kind of with Clive, more with enjoying Loki for most of the episodes. Yeah, it was a bit of a stretch, but did have fun with Tom Hiddleston and then our good friend Richard E. Grant last week as well. So there's been a lot of fun last week, man. Yeah, that bus has gone. So there's a bit of fun there. So listen, I've not seen Black Widow, but we're going to have movies that could, again, smash it at the park. They may get back to that limited time frame, meaning a movie, 2 hours, and they may be able to do that. So back to Pete's point earlier on, where you had, Loki could have been 2 episodes. Well, actually, could it have been actually a movie? Could it have been a 2.25 hour, 2:20? We all now we're at home. We're watching on streaming. Yeah, we can sit, we can get up, we can walk around, we can get sweet popcorn. And watch. And we don't mind our movies being a bit longer these days, do we? Yeah. So I'm not excited. I'm hearing that from the group as well. But I'm still, a Marvel comic fan. And where they're going, and they're heading towards potentially Fantastic Four. And I'm a big fan of Fantastic Four. It's one of my faves. Spider-Man up top. Fantastic Four of all its different writers as well. That's coming. Multiverses could get a bit crazy, could be a bit different. So yeah, I'm a bit more positive than there as well. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Clive, what about you? I feel that you're probably quite positive about this.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm mixed on it. I'm always going to be excited to see Sam Raimi getting a chance to do another big superhero movie.
Yes,
I think that's fantastic. I think it's great that he's doing that, and that makes me more excited for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness than I would otherwise be. Yeah. Just touching on Ian's point briefly about Scarlet Witch probably being more powerful than Doctor Strange in that movie. I would say that she is in the comics, so she might well be in the movie. And
she's been more powerful from him from the moment she showed up.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. I would say one of the things that Loki has set up is the idea that your variant isn't necessarily like a clone of you. If you see what I mean, which directly sort of seems to lead to Spider-Man Far From Home, where we're potentially going to see other Spider-Men who don't look like Tom, right? We might potentially get to see.
Maybe one's a pig.
Yeah,
maybe.
John Mulaney needs to work.
Spider pig.
Well, we've got an alligator Loki, right?
Exactly.
So, and a frog Thor. So why not?
Beardy Spider-Man. Finally, I can actually wear a costume. And people are like, what is that stuff that's coming out through the mask, Graham? And it's like, oh well, it's my beard. So
it's a beard. Yeah. Oh dear. I don't know. As I said, I don't really have any faith in the next Loki. I don't have any faith in the Marvel universe either.
Clive,
as far as I'm concerned.
I take it you know the comics and Kang the Conqueror and the time traveling and all his forms.
I don't. I'm not. I'm mainly familiar from through like a big Avengers arc called Avengers Forever, which he's like the big bad in, which I would recommend. Very good. So yeah, and in the comics he works very well. He's nothing like He Who Remains. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like they're teasing him by giving us a what do you want to call him, like librarian version of the character, before we get the Conqueror. This someone who sort of plots. Basically, he's like Willy Wonka, isn't he? He wants someone to come in and take over the chocolate factory.
Yes.
That he set up.
Yeah.
That,
Less Wizard of Oz and more Willy Wonka. I like it.
So. And I did find parts of Jonathan Major's performance amusing, at least initially. Then not a lot happened, so that was the big problem, right? And then at the end we get like a big, like Planet of the Apes style, like a Tim Burton Planet of the Apes style reveal with oh, it's a statue. Oh, they don't know who I am.
It's been reset, isn't it? It's been the timeline's been reset.
The thing that worries me going on to season 2 of this is that the filmmaker, the makers of the show seem to believe that the TVA is exciting, and I don't find it exciting. They're like, oh, isn't the TVA fantastic? Don't worry. There's still going to be the TVA, and I was kind of hoping that they'd broken it, right? That they weren't going to get that. Like Pete was saying, Adventures of Loki, like through all these alternate timelines, through time. That's what I thought.
Quantum Leap Loki.
I would love to see that show. They don't seem interested in making that show, which is frustrating. Because they gave little hints of it in here, but they seem much more interested in the TVA show, which is.
Maybe that was actually the star of the show. Yeah, was that really the lead character?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think Pete's Quantum Leap Loki idea is way more intriguing, and we'd love to see that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I like the sort of, as you said, the sort of Planet of the Apes-esque reference there with the statue at the end. So I like that you picked up on that. Also, picking up on movie things, I thought that the opening was a little bit like Contact with with the different sound bites from history and obviously from the MCU as well in there. But I just felt like if we're referencing other movies, like when they met He Who Remains, it just felt like that god awful scene in Matrix Revolutions, where we just get this long and dull explanation of everything, which leaves you just as confused at the end as you were to start with. But,
I was thinking exactly the same thing, and I said I sat through those 3 movies, Matrix 2 and 3, 2 and 3 included, and yeah, absolutely. I think this was better than Matrix 3, that ending. So no, it's out there.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. I mean, again, I loved The Matrix, the original, but Garbage has put an interesting thing here. On a side note, Keith, you need a sponsor. What with last week's drinking with Graham and Ian's popcorn this week? Think about the money. If anybody out there's watching and they want, they want to be the sponsor, whether it's Ian eating popcorn or Graham
does Disney want to sponsor?
Yeah.
Well, sponsor me.
We're advertising Disney Plus every week. Every week of this, I'm saying it's available to watch on Disney Plus.
yeah, but I think we have said some very not nice things about the writers.
Well, we have.
That's why they won't sponsor us.
Yeah,
that's why.
Exactly. you know, well, we've just been saying what we think, which is the point of this platform. In fact, Garbage has said something else here. I want to make sure I get to comment. So this is back on the thing about Wanda being more powerful than Doctor Strange. She doesn't need to be more powerful, but she will be, and it will be shoved down our throats, and we will be constantly reminded of how much stronger she is. So,
Garbage, are you related to Ian?
No.
They're definitely singing from the same.
I know him through other streams. I mean, he's through other streams that I've been on. So
hey,
I've got a fan.
I really appreciate Garbage's
input.
And also and you know, Garbage did actually message me saying that he, you know, really missed Ian being on last week. So there you go. Not Ryan Young has put that Loki is sponsored by Horlicks. I think like now I've got a question then.
That's not a joke that plays in America. Sorry.
Wow, yeah, because Horlicks, they don't have Horlicks in America, do they?
Oh right.
It's like a drink. It's like
cocoa.
It's a bedtime drink.
Like
yeah.
It's like to send you to sleep. So that last episode would be.
Thank you for the translation.
Now,
Two countries separated by the same language.
Sorry, American audience. Right. So here's the thing, and I'm sure Clive will be amused by this because he knows that I like to. I like my in-universe continuities and timelines and all this. So if we're dealing with the multiverse, would that, do you think, it be able to explain things in canon, like why Bruce Banner and James Rhodes changed faces, and whether it could also include the X-Men franchise? What
there's a rumor that he's coming back. Hugh Jackman. Yeah, it's a rumor that he's coming back as Wolverine. Well, that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So, you know, personally, I think they should have a new Wolverine because he's getting on a bit, isn't he? Oh, Hugh Jackman. So,
and he ended on a high.
Yes, he did.
That film was brilliant.
Yeah,
exactly,
Logan. Yeah, it was
really
good.
Yeah,
Logan was amazing. No, agreed there. And but you know, he's still got it, as I'm sure Graham would agree. I know that this is Graham's man crush.
And just for the record, I thought Ed Norton's much better than Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Yeah, I thought
much as I love Mark Ruffalo, I do sort of agree. I actually like, it's kind of controversial, but I actually did quite like the Incredible Hulk.
I did too.
So yeah. But Garbage has put that Loki could be sponsored by laxative.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
That one is quite harsh, but I'm laughing. But what do you think about my? Do you think there's anything in that this multiverse could explain why we've had a few changing faces in the otherwise perfect continuity?
I don't know. I don't know what timeline we're on now, because when Captain America went back and lived with Peggy, I'm assuming that we're on a different timeline, especially when he turned up old and stuff. So I'm just assuming that's, you know, it started off on a different timeline. It's really weird to figure out, and I just, you know, I can't be asked to figure it out personally. I don't know what's going on, to tell you the truth. But there you go. Yeah. So,
but the trouble is, Ian, you don't care either.
I don't. You know what? It's
that's what I'm sad about. That I'm starting to not care.
Because for me, it ended with Endgame. And it's a perfect ending. It wasn't, you know, when I look back at Endgame, I thought it was a good film. But when I look back about the time travel thing, when I look at it again, I watched it a couple of days ago and I thought, you know what, it isn't that good. It isn't as good as I thought it was. The only thing that's worth that film is the ending, when all of them come back and they take on Thanos. That was absolutely worth the price of admission. I mean, I was sitting next to Keith when I was watching that.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a goosebumps moment.
Yeah, it was great, absolutely terrific.
And what was the popcorn like?
It was terrific.
A tad salty.
Yeah. But I mean, me and Keith were cheering. There's a bit where the hammer comes and Captain America catches it. We were in the cinema. Keith can tell you, everybody was cheering. They were
yeah.
like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
You know, it was just madness, complete madness. That ending was amazing.
It was a goosebumps moment for sure. Mr. Brown is saying, "Hell presenters, hell chat." Hello there, Mr. Brown. Thank you for joining us and your support as always. Okay, Claire, I want to ask you then. So,
go on. You're putting me on the spot.
Well, season 2. You know,
season 2 what of Loki?
Yeah, have you got any enthusiasm to carry on with this at all?
I will watch it because I've started to watch it now. I do kind of want to see what happens. I've heard, and I don't know, people might be able to tell me if this is true or not, that Tom Hiddleston may not be in it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Has anybody else heard that?
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's going to be Sylvie, not Loki.
It'll be, well,
it is now.
There you go.
What are you talking
about? I will definitely watch the next episode because I have, as a whole, like Clive, you know, I have enjoyed going on the journey. I think this series has been this redemptive story for the Tom Hiddleston Loki, and I have enjoyed, as you know, I've mentioned before, seeing the different facets in his personality and him being a more evolved human being. So I would like to see kind of what happens, you know, going forward. As much as I was, you know, I felt a little bit let down by this last episode. But you know, I can't predict because I don't know the universe well enough to even kind of take a stab at saying something intelligent about what might happen in the next series because I just don't have the foggiest.
Mm-hmm. And has Anthony liked this?
He has actually, Loki. Quantum Loki. Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
Oh boy.
Quantum Loki.
Oh my God, I'm going to mention that to Anthony. He'd be so excited.
That would be good.
One of his favourite programmes, Quantum Leap. What part of the West Midlands is Claire from? I'm from Rednall originally, so southwest Birmingham is where I was from.
Actually, that's southwest.
Actually, Barry.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I was likened to Barry from Arvida's Own Pet on many occasions growing up. Julie Walters, I don't mind Julie Walters. I can cope with Julie Walters. But Barry from Arvida's Own Pet. Actually, Barry. Hi.
What are we talking about?
Sorry, Pete.
Check out Arvida's Own Pet, Pete. It's really good.
Check out
Pete, Barry.
A good series.
And
Barry. So Pete, actually, now we've talked about how with a franchise it's okay to like something, but you don't have to watch all of it, right? And where I'm going with this is you and I have talked in depth about Star Trek, and please, people, check out those episodes at LSWOT cast if you want to find out more about that. But we started to watch Lower Decks and basically thought it was dreadful. And you know, we still like Star Trek. We just don't bother with Lower Decks right anymore. Is your approach to Marvel going to be similar, do you think? I mean, are you in for the ride with Loki, or are you kind of, you know, over it now?
So that's two different questions.
Yeah.
And in answer to the first one, that's how I always was with Marvel. I did not see Thor: The Dark World until
you're lucky.
Well, no, like I didn't see it until we got to like the point, like maybe Infinity War.
Right.
I think I saw it after Infinity War came out because I was like, "What's this red stone?" You know. Mm-hmm. And so that's the only reason I watched it, because I wanted to go back, right? Like I knew that I wasn't interested in Thor's, and so I skipped it. And I probably would have skipped Thor Ragnarok if Taika Waititi didn't direct it. And so like I'm perfectly willing to just say like, hey, this part is not digging. I'm not digging it. I'm skipping out. And I'll go back if I think I need to, but not into it. I'm sure there's more cases of that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because there was so much of it, But like, there's certain parts of it where I know I want to be there opening night, right? Or I want to see it in the theater. And there's parts of it that I'm gonna want to watch right when it comes out on Disney Plus. And going into that with Loki season 2, I'm gonna be there for season 2 at least at the start, because I think that there's good story possibility there, and so I'm not gonna rule it out. If I get 3 episodes in and it's just more of the same sort of stretching drivel, then I'm going to tune out. But for right now, I think that there was enough in Loki season 1 that it wasn't a complete waste. And so I'm willing to go with Loki season 2. I think I've been very honest about the parts of Loki season 1 that I thought were garbage, and there were improvements that they could have made that seemed pretty simple. But I'm gonna let them mess up season 2 before I write it off.
Sure. Okay, that's a fair answer.
Maybe you see what could have happened. I think what all of us probably wanted was a Loki series where kind of he is the central character. Yeah. And maybe kind of like a season 2 could have been this introduction of Sylvie and whatever and all these other variants. I think we all wanted something that we just wanted to get Loki.
Yes.
Really.
I disagree, kind of, to be honest. I think that
it's cool.
They definitely could have included Sylvie. I disagree that this is not the Loki that we got in any other movie. I think if you sit down and watch every single time Loki is on screen, he gets punked. I mean, from his opening, sorry, I don't know the Thor movies well enough, but like Avengers Assemble, he is the butt of jokes. He gets smacked around. He gets to look tough for about 5 seconds until somebody drop kicks him out of a plane or Hulk flings him around like a rag doll. And and then in every other movie after that, it's the same thing. He looks tough for a second, he gets beaten up, he gets pushed around, and then he has a quippy remark and he fades off into the distance. And so I think it's the same Loki, but what we wanted was an engaging scenario where he could do that.
Yeah.
And what we didn't get was an engaging scenario.
Yeah. Quantum Leap Loki is what we want, Pete. And I want you to go write it and pitch it to Marvel. Go on.
Yeah.
They won't look at you because you're white male. So just forget it.
Right there. Quantum Loki. That's Pete's idea. That's work, by the way. You can see it's high quality.
I like my idea from before. I don't know if that was Quantum Loki. Was that when I was like, he should be the agent popping through time doing all the mischievous things?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, it's not quite quantum, but yeah.
But I think it's I don't think that it's a agenda-based issue. I think it is a creativity-based issue, or the agenda that's being put in place is about finances more than anything else. They want to obey the broader MCU, and so they've sacrificed the storyline here.
Yeah, I agree with that, Pete. Because you're talking about the Young Avengers, and I read something last week about Kid Loki, as one of you termed him last week.
Yeah,
in the episode with Richard E. Grant, that one.
Why aren't you drinking?
Okay. I can drink. You mentioned him. There you go.
Yeah, so they're literally creating a foundation here.
Yeah,
a bit long. But what I'm about, I just want to digress quickly, and then we'll come back. Is what I was pleased, very much pleased, especially after Falcon Winter Soldier, and what I'm also pleased with the ending of Loki is Mobius, Owen Wilson's character. I I've liked Owen Wilson, but I've not really loved him as a character actor or whatever over the years. But I think what the most enjoyment I had, where yes, Loki was battered, as you said there, Pete, he was battered about emotionally. Ego was absolutely pummeled by this usually cool guy who now with a moustache in Owen Wilson. I genuinely enjoyed Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, Mobius, Loki's buddying, which we didn't get unfortunately with Falcon Winter Soldier. And I read that's something away from the other creatives, music, etc., that I got, and I know it's going to be different. It has to be different from that ending of the of episode 6 there. So having such intelligence in that type of writing and really working Loki's ego, bringing more order to his chaos, which I got with the TVA. I understand why. TVA, I didn't 100% agree with TVA, but having some order to chaos to really shake him up, that's something I really enjoy, and I will go back to. Again, last week I went back to episode 1 and saw how everything pieced together, ready for episode 5, and then obviously on to 6 as well. So there was enjoyment there, which I hope will come through. But yeah, I would pay a bit of money, and I'd even pay for sweet popcorn to have Quantum Loki, an episodic Loki. I think that's what has been missing from the last two series is a bit more episodic, a bit more focus on the plotting rather than building this foundation ready for the future phases of MCU.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, I want to sort of ask you all about this. So, what ultimately, I mean, we tried to sort of analyze what Falcon and the Winter Soldier was actually about, and I think we kind of came to the conclusion it was sort of white people, you need to do better, right? But
there's no agenda. As people keep saying, there's no agenda.
But we talked about how. Hold on, Pete. We talked about how that could have been that. We talked about what might have happened with that show editorially based on what had happened in the world, when it was being made and when it got released, and how our conclusion was that we got a very different show to what they set out with the intention of doing. It got reshaped into something quite different. But what I wanted to ask you each here, and I also want Pete, I want to hear what Pete has to say about that. But with this show, what do you think ultimately Loki has been about at its heart? Because I've got some thoughts, but I just wondered what all of you guys think. In fact, Pete, let's start with you, because I know you want to interject with what I just said. So go for it.
Well, I was going to say, in response to Ian's quip, there's a difference between an agenda and a point of view, or telling a story about a certain thing. And so, I think that's how I want to say it, right? That,
well, you're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree wholeheartedly. So.
Great. And so Falcon and the Winter Soldier told a story about racism and how it relates to superheroes.
Why? But why, though?
Can I just finish the goddamn thought, though?
Oh, you're getting angry now. Why are you getting angry? I'm just saying. I'll stop.
I am getting angry because this is how you do it every week.
What am I doing every week? I'm just saying.
You never let me finish a sentence.
Well, finish the
Have I ever interrupted you?
Then.
Once.
That's
what makes me angry.
Be nice, guys.
This guy is
come on,
Bruce Banner. He's going to change green in a minute. Bruce Banner. Go for it, Pete.
Come on, Pete. Finish what you were saying.
Go for it.
I would like to say, right, that they were telling a story about racism in America, which is not the same as feeling like the story is being threatened or put behind an agenda, which is what I'm hearing you, Ian, say about your feelings for how they portray females versus males, right? And that's where we have a disagreement about, like, is that there or not? Right? But it's separate. Like, I'm not saying there wasn't a race storyline to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm saying that was a natural point of view to tell to it. The other question was what?
The other question was, I just wondered what you think the series Loki has been about Yeah.
The series Loki has been about, well, I don't think they've told it very well, but I think it was like, so if I wanted to be real honest, I think that their agenda here, right, which went above the storyline, was to set up something in the MCU to introduce the audience to multiverses. And so they put that ahead of the story, and it suffers because of it. I think the story that they were trying to hint at or get to was about, choice, free will, what makes our actions, what makes us versus what's behind the decisions that we make, and what about these decisions make us us. So the jet ski thing with Mobius is like, what does that mean for him? How did he get there? The whole thing with the man who lived or survived or whatever it's called, about knowing every word that you're going to say before you say it, and Loki's like inherent or rebelling against that and wanting to be his own person. But that's what I think they were trying to tell. But they didn't do it well because they were so focused on introducing this other storyline so that other Marvel properties would be better set up.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. Before I come on to Clive, all opinions are valid here. I just want to read out. So Garbage has put, I don't want to see Loki telling everyone else how amazing they are and that he loves them and now he is bisexual. He got beaten up by a huge mammoth Hulk, completely different to females in the Loki show. So there's an opinion that differs slightly there, but, I just want to, if people are putting comments in the stream, that's the whole point. I want to give them the opportunity as well. So thank you for that, Garbage. Clive, I'm interested in what your take on Loki is.
My take on the show as a whole is that it seemed to be, there were themes about free will versus determinism, right? Whether, there is such a thing as free will, whether such a thing is even possible.
Yeah.
That really got kind of muddied for me in all the TVA stuff. There was a lot of things they put in the show which didn't really aid that. The thing that did come through strongly for me was this idea of are people capable of change if they're exposed to love and friendship, right? And that's what they seem to be doing to Loki. Exposing him to love through Sylvie, this alternate version of himself. So self-love, you could say. And no pun intended. I promise.
There's a worrying thing there about what that is. That actually incest or something else?
Well, yeah. And then sort of a genuine friendship connection with Mobius, right?
Yeah.
So and then it's like they almost give us two endings. It's like the previous episode, we get the up ending. We get, Richard E. Grant, this older version of Loki, being so inspired by what he sees as the fact that these two Lokis are capable of change, that he sacrifices himself and helps them to open up this, this portal to this mysterious place. So we get the up ending, right? They could have, and you could have ended the series there, and it would be like, oh, what's behind the portal? That would have been an option. And then so. One of the reasons why it feels unsatisfying is because then this week they give us the down ending, which is, at the end, Sylvie chooses to turn her back on all of on love, on the sort of different possibilities by rejecting Loki and just carrying through with her plan like she's always wanted to. Now, obviously it's not exactly a black and white decision there, because it's this sort of idea of like choosing free will, or this poison chalice of like, you get to run the TVA, which is I'm not sure how I'm not sure how enticing I would find that. It's like, oh great, I get to run that.
Lots of paperwork, thanks.
Libraries, stamps, yay.
It's like,
but praise to him being that kind of megalomaniac, isn't it?
So, I think they think that the fact that like season 2 is coming means they're okay to leave us on this slightly down note. That and maybe they're thinking that the MCU stuff, this reveal, this opening up of things, is going to make people excited. That didn't work for me.
I was going to say that.
it didn't work for me.
Yes.
It for me undermined the message of the show, which seemed to be pointing into the direction which they ended the previous episode with.
Yeah.
And then they just 180'd it, this one, after this talky show. So yeah.
No, I'm really glad you said about the sort of free will thing, because I've been, as I said, I've lost a lot of interest, but likewise, I can't help myself but think about these things, and I've been thinking, is that what the show is really about? Mr. Brown has actually put here that Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Mackie, Owen Wilson, and Paul Bettany were all wasted. I assume he means not used well, as opposed to drunk, right? during the show. But yeah,
they got wasted after they saw the show.
Maybe they were. Maybe they were playing Graham's game.
Yeah, Paul Bettany is the only one I would argue against. It's a good point, though. But Paul Bettany, I thought, I haven't seen as much range from him all in one creative outlet. We've seen him in movies and he's been awesome, but actually we saw everything from Paul Bettany throughout the 8 episodes, and I think he was absolutely outstanding there. Even comedy, which I hadn't seen of him previously. I thought there was one episode, I think it was the 6th or 7th episode of Wanda, where they're doing the faux documentary, and he's vision, and he's scratching, and I thought there's all these little nuances that an actor and director I know would do as well. So it's a good point, but I don't know. I think thinking about it, Tom Hiddleston has had to, he really use his acting chops. Now he's had to do a lot of hair as well. Now his hair we haven't just talked about as well, so I'll just park that.
The continuity is a bit, on his hair.
Yeah, but I'll get to that in a point. So I'll stop talking now, and you can go around about what this is about, because I may now understand fully what Loki was all about. So I'm just going to notes.
By the way, Garbage has come up with a good game for you there. Big binge drinking session. They have a glass every time Loki was beaten up.
Which Loki?
Completely drunk.
Episode 5, there was a lot of Loki, as Pete magically said last week. There was a lot of Loki hitting Loki, and then there was a Loki fight. Well, actually, there's a Loki fight. So that there, guys, that's last yard of ale time.
That's a keg, mate. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's down with a tap open mouth, and letting that bad boy hit you.
Here you go. I've got one for Ian here. So Mr. Brown has said, because Loki disappeared with the blue box in the last Avengers film, does that mean that the timeline has changed and the last films won't happen now? What do you think, Ian?
Maybe. Who knows? But who knows? I mean, I as I said, when it comes to shows like this, and as I said, I can see more. Obviously, but it depends on my opinion, and it is my opinion. I'm not going to carry on watching this. It's the same thing with Picard as well. I saw the first 3 episodes of Picard. Saw the last. No, actually, I saw all of it because I was on a stream. So the last episode, that was it for me. The show was so bad. It was absolutely ridiculous, badly written, and this show's badly written as well. So I don't know what's going to happen with the MCU, and I don't know whether that changed the timeline. Who knows? I don't know. But good luck to them all. That's all I can say. Same thing with Doctor Who. Once they destroyed the canon of Doctor Who. That was it for me. She doesn't exist for me. That Doctor Who. I stopped with Peter. That's it for me. In my head, that's canon. That's it in the story.
The bottom line here is we need better writing. Yeah.
No, the bottom line here is we need to balance everything out properly. Better like writers that have actually written for sci-fi and seasoned writers and stuff like that. If you look at the list, if you look at the people that wrote the Black Widow film, they hadn't really done much. So do you know what I mean? So it's like it's like they're tick boxing and they're giving them the job without even
It makes you wonder how much the writers do know about, again, the whole kind of Marvel mythology, because we go back to the Mandalorian, the showrunner and all of that they're all kind of steeped in the Star Wars mythology, aren't they? They've worked on the Clone Wars and then animators and blah 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 blah. That everybody has been so invested in that. But
I tell you what, I'm going to give a spoiler out here, a spoiler for Black Widow. Okay, right. So I'm going to give a little spoiler out. So be warned. La la la. Okay, so there's a vial in it that everybody's after, and that big bad guy was after the vial, and it was in Black Widow's Jeep. Do you remember? So the vial is that small, and it's got stuff in it that the baddie wants. What does he do? He fires a missile at the car and blows up the car. How is that? How is he going to get it if he blows up the car? Do you know what I mean? That's how stupid the writing is. That's how stupid the writing is. And there's loads of things like this in Loki as well. But I don't want to point out. But it's just stupid.
I actually really enjoyed Black Widow, but that's but let's come back so they can put their signal. Yeah, you can put them back on. So back to the thing you were saying about you raised a good point there when you were saying about I think you said it, Claire, about the writers not necessarily understanding the material. Garbage has put quite a lot of quotes in the chat today, and I'm trying to find the one. He did put one earlier that I didn't get to, and it was about I'm paraphrasing because I can't find it, but it was something about the fact that the showrunner of Loki of WandaVision, I believe, didn't actually know who Mephisto was.
Yeah, she didn't.
So, so that's supporting what you're saying there, Claire, very much. Here's one for you, actually, Claire. So, good friend of the show. He's been a co-host on it. Ryan Holloway is in the chat. So, hi, Ryan. We miss you. You're always welcome back on the show whenever you want to come on it. But Ryan has put, would prefer season 2 to focus on Wilson's character, Owen Wilson's character. Yes. What are your thoughts there, Claire? Would you agree with that?
I'd like that. Yeah, I think I'd like that. I'd like to see a bit more of his character evolving, knowing more of his backstory, because he's clearly got one, because he's a variant as well. So knowing all of that kind of motivation and him maybe finding what his past was would be really, really quite exciting to see and explore, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I would like to see more of, I'd like to, obviously, in fact, I'd like it to be Quantum Leap Loki and Mobius can be his owl.
I mean,
you can see and hear, it's like
I don't mind, I mean, I don't know how everybody else felt, but I didn't mind the whole kind of dialogue heavy stuff between them two. I enjoyed their interaction and their screen time.
I agree. I certainly preferred their interactions more than his with Sylvie.
Yeah,
totally. I'm going to be totally honest.
There's a real romance there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was a romance for
almost
sure.
Old-fashioned things we grew up in the 80s with less action and machismo. Maybe that's what we have now. But no, I would love to see more of Olmos' character. But then again, don't forget that there is a hell of a lot more characters in there that haven't been expanded on so much. The other variants, I forget the character's name, but the lead time cop, as Pete calls them. C15 or whatever it is, C4. I don't know.
It's Hunter B15, I think.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. You see. So, listen, if Scott Bakula made an appearance in 2 as well, I would literally be fan fluid.
Well, I'm hoping Scott. It's a whole nother podcast, but I'm hoping Scott Bakula is going to come into Star Trek again. But that's a whole nother thing. Garbage has put here. This is just picking up on this thing about writing. So he's put, writers are like people in all wakes on industry. You work your way up the ladder, not jump 7 levels to head writer after writing 1 episode of EastEnders. And I think actually there is a point there. I know something that Disney and Marvel are trying to do is they are trying to cast a wider net, as it were, and give opportunities to people that maybe haven't done that much yet, just to give sort of more diverse opportunities, etc. But, maybe we've all said that areas of these shows we haven't liked, even though we've really liked the production values, have been around the writing and storytelling. And, maybe there's something fair in that. I'm not in a position where I'm involved in anything like this to sort of say, but I mean,
the interesting thing, Keith, is are these writers given a set of prerequisites, and when they go to write and say, look, whatever you write has to fit these constraints?
They are.
Yeah,
they are. Right, okay.
Yeah, they do. And Kevin Feige, he's been consistently there with MCU. Obviously, he's produced all of the movies, but I know from listening to some of the commentaries recently is that he's the one who's told them to lean a certain way in their writing style, not just what the synopsis, not a synopsis as such, but actually what the plot points should be.
Right.
So he's been there. So maybe, I don't know, because Keith, you'll probably tell us better, that wasn't Kevin Feige made like head of president of MCU where he was a producer previously, so he's now got a bigger job to do. And
well, he's had some history in the industry with like he was an assistant to Lauren Shaw O'Donnor on the X-Men films back in the early days and whatever, but he has been sort of the if you like, the showrunner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe since its inception.
Really.
And maybe he's got some lieutenants beneath him who there may be that there isn't that consistency, there isn't that drive for there, and they've just got their roadmap, as we say. So maybe they're coming down the pipeline, they know what's coming, so they can be a bit more free with it, but he's not really at the helm as such as he was.
He's. I mean, I think this could be quite a big discussion, but I think generally Kevin Feige, he is a fan of the source material. He is a comic book fan. He's a Star Wars fan. He's he's of that. He's of our generation and sort of in that area. And I think in terms of management, I think he's done quite a good job of managing the MCU up until, certainly up and through the Infinity War, or the Infinity Stone, saga. But what I think is happening is that there is other pressure from the studio itself, i.e. Disney and whatever, for, inclusivity and diversity and all of this stuff. And I think he's probably, like a lot of showrunners now, under pressure to sort of meet those sort of things. And but who knows? I'm not in those rooms. I wish I was. So who knows what goes on behind the scenes? But I would say, compared to some other franchises we could mention, the Marvel one has been fairly well managed to date, because the person running it is actually, it's a bit like Claire was saying about, the Mandalorian, it's about people who are passionate about the source material, right? And I think that's quite important when, especially when dealing with a franchise that has history and continuity and all of that sort of stuff. But we could go on for ages about that. I'm not going to do it. I was going to talk about a little bit about, while we're on Marvel, Black Widow, but I know a couple of you haven't seen it. So I don't want to, even though there's no spoilers to Black Widow, really, is there? Let's be honest. But I want to get to some more comments before we wrap up. So I very much agree with this comment from Mr. Brown that Superman and Lois is the best program on TV at the moment. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I can't believe I'm saying that about a CW show that's part of the Arrowverse. But it really is absolutely fantastic stuff. And there's a good example of writing. My God, it's seriously good. I want to have a podcast or a stream about that someday, but it's not out yet, annoyingly. Not, in the UK.
Officially.
Yeah. What else have we got? Garbage is saying, so if shows are based on good effects, shows in the 60s, 70s, and 80s should all be flops. It's writing that makes these shows. Marvel shows trying to hide poor writing with good CGI. You know what? That comment,
spectacle over story.
Agree with. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I always talk about this, but I grew up loving things like Blake Seven and Buck Rogers and stuff like that. That some could say the visual effects were questionable, but the reason I was in love with those shows was because of the characters and stories. So
season 1 of Buck Rogers, put it that way, was great. The rest of the seasons were terrible because they changed the whole format, didn't they? They changed the whole thing.
They did.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So what else have we got here? So I don't want to miss anyone. Okay. Ryan has said that I'll come back for the show for She-Hulk, Keith. Oh, there we go.
You might be disappointed.
Yancy Introphobe has put here that Loki director Kate Herron says she won't return for season 2. Okay, so they're going to give somebody else a chance with that.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Has anybody just seen anything on social media about the whole reaction to Loki? Has it been a bit mixed?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry.
What? Sorry, no. While you were doing that, I thought I'd, just moderate. It's where I'm more comfortable. No, I just wondered if what was happening on social media and what the reaction was.
Well, I think social media has reactions. You can't get away from them. And let's be honest, on both sides of the fence, there's a lot of toxic reactions.
Yes.
So I try not to
pay any attention to that, really.
I actually think the social media end of things are far more honest than the access media most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, it's because it's individuals' actual opinion and not
it's not paid for
agendas. But at the same time, there are echo chambers and all of that sort of stuff as well. I mean, it's a complicated thing, this world we live in now.
There is a Deadpool and Korg react to Free guy out there as well. So,
yeah, I've seen it. It's funny.
So there is that social media reaction from actual real guys. And I'm so happy to see that both Deadpool and Korg are real.
That's it, Korg. That's it, the big rock guy, right?
Yeah,
that's the fella,
voiced by Taika Waititi. Yeah, is that right? It's.
I don't know. He doesn't sound. He sounds different in this.
No, it is voiced by Taika Waititi.
Is it?
He's in Free Guy as well.
All right, because it sounds very. He sounds very different to. He had more of an accent in Endgame and in Thor Ragnarok, but in the Deadpool thing, it seemed to be toned down a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, he was doing a Samoan bouncer type from New Zealand, as he knew. core. So maybe this is the more toned down kind of.
Maybe.
It was Nude Master 69 that was giving him a load of. I did love that scene when I'm the god of thunder. So yes.
All about
hold on a second. We got a comment here from Ryan. So I think people wanted Loki to be effing things up and being mischievous, but he ended up playing the comic relief.
Good. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
So
he did. In his own show.
In his own show. Yeah. Okay. Any give you the opportunity. Any final thoughts then before we kind of bring this season of Let's See What's Out There to a wrap? Anything anyone wants to add?
Well,
does anyone like my production design?
Yes, really nice. I really like
the
purple behind you.
Exactly. Thank you. This is my tribute to the production design and cinematographer of Loki.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Good job.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
Definitely a Grammy.
Thank you. I worked very hard on that. Sorry. Trivializing again.
Yep. It's What If next, and I'm very much going to be glued to the TV there, at least for the first couple of episodes. So I am, I think comment made of She-Hulk. Interesting. Yeah, that could be good. You've got Hawkeye coming up, and if it's like the Matt Fraction written Hawkeye comics, which I was a massive fan of, excited for that too. So there's still some goodness of more modern comics that'll be coming out, Hawkeye being one of them, of course, maybe a bit of She-Hulk as well. So there's still some tantalizing Marvel comics and characters that can be given the spotlight now. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Say that word again, tantalizing. Say that word again.
Which one, Jay? You're saying
tantalizing. Say tantalizing.
So you want me to perform like a what?
I just like the way you said it. You went tantalizing. You know, like you had a really cool glass of beer when you're about to drink it. Tantalizing. It really sounded cool, actually.
Tantalizing.
What did I say? Voluptuous as well.
There you go. That's cool as well.
We're going to have to bring this to an end before we all get too excited. What about so Clive? Any closing thoughts on anything from you?
I am left wondering where they're going to go in season 2. I did wonder if maybe that Loki has jumped into the mirror universe. If we're going to go a bit Star Trek there, and you know, I mean, they missed a trick by not having Owen Wilson have a little goatee beard. I thought, but you know,
yes.
But yeah, we shall see.
Or not having it be Luke Wilson.
Well, there we go.
That's what Pete wanted. That's what Pete wanted. And any final thoughts, Pete?
No, just looking forward to Luke Wilson being in season 2.
Yeah.
A variant of Loki, a variant of Mobius in season 2. There's a request here from Mr. Brown, Ian. He wants you to say.
I'm not going to say that because he always takes the mickey out of me when I say it. So I'm not going to say it. So there, Mr. Brown.
You know, is this like Graham saying voluptuous?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Not Ryan B. Young. Great show, folks. Well played. Thank you. So that I am going to ask any people out there, if you find this after the fact, or indeed if you're in the live stream now, do you want us to come back? Do you want us to do a show on What If or one of the other Marvel shows coming? If there is an appetite for that and you're interested in what we do here and what we have to say about it, please put that down in the comments. That would be really appreciated, and I will assemble a team in my in my best Nick Fury way, you know, to come and join me for more adventures. But in the meantime, I want to give these lovely folks, first of all, thank you to everyone for your contributions over the last 6 weeks. It's been really appreciated. Graham, what are you working on currently?
Now deep into second draft of my novel, Weather River Bends, modern western based in Wales, and that, Ian, disappointingly maybe for you, has a female protagonist.
I made a feature film called Bad Day, and they're all female protagonists, and Rebecca Gold's female. So it's not that I'm against them.
And they both beat up white males in it. And I know
actually they don't.
White male.
No, they don't. Keith, you're wrong. They don't. Tell me where one of them beat up a white male in Bad Day.
Oh, come on, Claire.
When?
Donna grabs me by the nuts and kicks me.
She doesn't beat you up, though. She doesn't beat you up, does she?
What do you call that? If that's not
well, you deserved it.
Watch Bad Day, everyone. Just go watch it.
You deserved it.
Anyway, so yes, deep into draft 2 there, enjoying the process. It was quite laborious to pick apart my first draft through that wall now. So yeah, when I am ready to publish, obviously I will let it all out. Social media, the lot as well. So yeah, really enjoying that at the moment.
Fair enough. That's cool. Sorry, I'm just laughing here at Ryan Holloway has put female protagonists beating up white villains is tight. We're both fans of Pitch Meeting, and that's where that comes from. So,
oh yeah, that show, yeah, quite fun.
Clive, where can people find your work?
People go onto Vimeo and put in my name, Clive Ashenden. They will find my most recent short films. And I just want to say thank you, Keith and Pete, for your hosting of this series. Really enjoyed being on it, and great to work with all you guys.
No, really great to have you on, Clive. So thank you, and I'm sure there will be, more of these to come by the looks. Pete, where can people find out more?
Follow LSWOT Cast on all the socials. That's the Let's See What's Out There podcast, where Keith and I discuss Star Trek, sci-fi, everything fun. And again, I'm just going to plug the Excuses and Half-Truths podcast with Clive and Rob Wickings. I just listened to the one where Keith was on talking about Doctor Who. The 60-second recaps are amazing. I know I'm plugging a podcast from 2015, but in this time, let's all go back and find something we enjoy.
Timey-wimey.
But before I even got into podcasts, I was a guest on one. There you go. And also, there is a Big Blake 7 episode as well on there, which if anybody's in for a marathon, I will put links to all this stuff in the show notes as it happens. So, Ian, what are you working on, and where can people find stuff, please?
I'm working on something I cannot mention at this moment in time, but I'm also got a channel called Rebecca Gold, as people know, and it's got a web series in there. So yeah, so you can tune into that. Also, people have been messaging me on Twitter and wanting me to give them the links to my films, which is quite good actually, because Vimeo is, every time you get someone to watch your film, Vimeo always sends you an email saying people's watching your film. So 25 people has watched Killing Zone so far. Bad Day, 102, and wow. And Rebecca Gold, I got an email this morning. I think it was like 400 people watching on Vimeo. Really, I need all those people to go to YouTube. That's what I need, because Vimeo is not as big as YouTube. But yeah, a lot of people are watching it, which I'm really happy with. So that's quite nice, I guess. Yeah. So if you want to watch the film, you watch it. Just message me on Twitter, and I'll send you the links, and then you can watch, have a laugh.
And the goal is eventually maybe to get a season 2.
I'm trying my best. Yeah, you know the problems with it, Keith. I don't want to go for it here, but I'm doing my best. I'm trying my best, and not for the want of trying. So hopefully, maybe it looks like next year. Maybe now we'll be shooting that, but could be sooner. Who knows, right?
Oh wow. I'm excited for whenever it happens. And also, you guest quite often on the Spacebook as well, Ian. Right?
I do indeed.
I was lucky enough to be on one recently where we paid tribute to the late great
Richard Donner.
So please check that out over on the Spacebook. Claire, tell us about where people can find your work and what you've got going on at the moment, because it looks like loads of stuff.
I don't know. I've been interviewing lots of people lately, which is very exciting, and I absolutely love it. So you can find my latest filmmaker and actor interviews at premierscene.net. And I'm also the producer of Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters, the definitive retrospective documentary about the making of Ghostbusters. And you can find that on Blu-ray in the United Kingdom, and you can find it on Crackle in the United States.
Fantastic.
All free.
And you can actually find a review of the Blu-ray of that here on this channel. So please check that out.
It's got lots of good bonus features, hasn't it, Keith?
There you go. It's got bonus features. And,
about an hour of bonus features.
An hour of bonus material that I go into in detail. So check that out.
Claire, are you going to do a documentary on the new one when it comes out?
What, the Jason Reitman one?
Yeah. No.
Well,
Maybe you should.
Maybe we should, but it'll be in a few years, because we liked it. The one thing I have noticed, and I'll keep it brief, Keith, because I know you need to go, right. But sort of interviewing filmmakers now as they're releasing their films is very different to interviewing people, you know, who talk in retrospect about the making of a film. Ghostbusters, we were very lucky because everybody was actually very happy to work on the film. Ghostbusters 2, we have Too Hot to Handle coming out at some point in the future.
Oh, that's important.
That is in pre-production at the moment. So that's a different beast entirely. My brother would be very interested in doing the 2016 one because of all the controversy that went on, and I think he feels that would be an interesting documentary. But we'll see about the future.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I will let my brother know. He's the great director.
There you go. Anthony Bueno, so we can check that stuff out as well. Garbage is saying, please, Claire, do the new Ghostbusters movie. And
there you go.
Ian Brown is saying that Ian is on his podcast on Saturday nights at Mr. Brown Alliance, so check that out. But yeah, if there's been a few more people watching live tonight, I really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in. And a really big thanks to those of you that have got involved in the comments. All opinions are valid, and I really appreciate this. If you're finding this after the fact and you'd still want to comment on it, please put it down in the section below and consider liking this video, checking out some of the other work, and subscribe and hit the bell icon for more content. That would be great. If you want to see any of my other work, there is another YouTube channel called British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. And there's some short films that I've written and produced and directed on there. Any feedback is welcome, guys. I'm just, like any filmmaker, we just want the stuff to have an audience. Yeah. So please check that out. But we really appreciate you joining us for this. And hopefully we will see you on the next Let's See What's Out There, whatever that will be about. Check out social media, follow us, Home Media Minefield or LSWOT Cast, and we will put more details in. But for now, thank you to my guests. Thank you, everyone, for viewing, and good night.